Hello, this is Mike Lawless, and in this video I will demonstrate the use of ADMET Predictor 8 in early lead discovery. This next slide sets up a possible scenario in the drug discovery process. You're investigating a new target with no known modulators, but you have a single hit from a related target. Here's an example of a hit, and I just extracted this randomly from the zinc database. So the first thing you might want to do is take this molecule into MedChem Studio and sketch some ideas around it, some things you might generate some analogues. You also might want to analyze a few of the initial ADMET properties of the compound. Next, you might want to take the compound and search a database of off-the-shelf compounds so that you can buy more compounds similar to this one and have it tested rather than synthesizing those leads. Next, there's a tool in ADMET Predictor that will allow you to convert these molecules to generate new ideas using something we call Combinatorial Transforms. And then finally, you might generate a virtual library around your hit molecule. Search that. Now, in this particular example, I'm going to just generate a virtual library from an arbitrary example of a Pictet-Spengler reaction, and so it's not really related to this particular target. It's just an example of developing a virtual library. So now in ADMET Predictor 8.0, you can simply take a file and drag it onto the ADMET Predictor 8 icon. That will open up ADMET Predictor. Initially, the program is going to prompt you for the column in the file that contains the SMILE strings and the identifier of the compound. So there's just one compound in here, and I'll hit OK. And then we can also enlarge this a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight it and then click the button, the icon that takes the molecule into MedChem Designer. So let's just initially calculate some ADMET properties and look at the results down here in the table. So the ADMET risk is 4. Our ADMET risk typically can go up to 7 before you really have to worry about it. So in other words, about 10% of the World Drug Index has an ADMET risk of 7 or greater. Some of these codes are, the first one is rotatable bonds. So there is quite a few rotatable bonds in this molecule, and so we should try and remove some of those or limit those rotatable bonds. It's also flagged the log P of the compound or the log KOW. If you look down below it, it does have a log P of 3.77, so it's not too high in my opinion, but it is getting close. And as you notice, this is not an integer value. We don't give a hard cutoff on these anymore. It's kind of a fuzzy cutoff for those. So maybe it's the 0.037 that the log P is predicting here. It could be some of these other parameters too. The next one, it's flagged it for hepatotoxicity. At this stage, I'm not too worried about hepatotoxicity. 2D6, 3A4, and clearance are all codes related to the metabolism and indicating that this compound is metabolized fairly quickly. So I'm just going to copy and paste 4 or 5 copies of the molecule and then just move them around on the screen and make a few modifications to the molecule here. So if you double click on that, that allows you to move it with this particular lasso tool or square lasso compound. So if we look over here at this first compound, maybe I'd like to just turn this into a ring, remove this ethyl group over here, and maybe make that a nitrogen. So you've got a kind of a pyrazine ring over here. On this molecule, maybe I'm going to take and close this ring over here and move it down here, and then I'll highlight it and hit an O on the keyboard to give it an oxygen. I'm going to take off this portion of the molecule too. And then if I want to clean this up, I can just highlight this ring and push the clean up button. over on this compound, maybe I want to get rid of one of the nitrogens in the pyrimidine ring, and then in this compound, let's convert one of the nitrogens to a carbon, so we have an amide bond here rather than a urea. And then we can calculate the ADMET properties of these. So if we look at molecule 2 here in the table, so that's this compound here where we've removed one of the nitrogens, the ADMET risk goes down just a little bit. We now have eliminated the hepatotoxicity for that particular flag, which is good, I guess. But the log P has gone up quite substantially for this compound, and that could happen by obviously converting that into a pyridine rather than a pyrimidine ring. If we look at molecule 3 up in here where we've got the pyrazine, that has one of the lower ADMET risks of these molecules. We've added, though, rat carcinogenicity to hepatotoxicity. Now it's being cleared too quickly by 1A2 according to the ADMET risk rules. Moving further to the right, this is the compound where we've converted one of the nitrogens into a carbon. Still has too many rotatable bonds. Log P went up, which isn't a great thing, but we did eliminate one of the 2D6 dependency here. Then if we look at this final compound over here, that's looking a lot better. It's got a lower ADMET risk, and some of the other clearance compounds, our risks have gone away. So let's go ahead and just select all those and then transfer those back into ADMET Predictor, and then we can save this file and we'll keep those ideas around for later. Now the next thing you might want to do is search a database of off the compounds you can buy, so you could go out and buy similar compounds. So for this, we have new functionality in ADMET Predictor called Library, and we can search by similarity. I've created a database of 6 million compounds from the zinc database. I've filtered them slightly for drug-like properties and then built the database. So let me just briefly show, if you want to build a library, you just go up to the Create button, specify the file, and then define the name of the library. Let's go back to the similarity search, and then you can specify similarity. I want these to be fairly similar to the query molecule, so I'm going to fit a fairly tight criteria of 80 for the tandem modal coefficient. Now we could either create a separate CTK file list, or we could import into this file here. So then you would click OK, and it would go off and start running these searches on a number of processors. Now that'll take about a little under 5 minutes, so I'm just going to read in the results file. So I'll just go File, Open, and not save these changes. I've saved it in the other database, and then come in here. So the way to view these results here is that you can highlight this compound, and then if we go down to the Pairs tab, it will display each one of the hits as a separate column over here in column 2, and it shows the query molecule and then what's different in the hit. This compound originally was extracted from the zinc database, so it did find itself, which obviously is good in the zinc database. This next hit gets rid of this ethyl group here and then adds a hydroxyl group up here. So that's kind of interesting. A few of these others do kind of similar ones, similar modifications. This is one of the modifications we came up with already, so it might be better just to buy that off the shelf. Then if we scroll down here a little bit further, you see that various carbons are converted to oxygens, adding methoxy groups, etc. So there's some good ideas that we could just purchase off the shelf and see what they would do, how they would test in our assay. So ADMET Predictor also has some MedChem Studio features in it, and one of those is combinatorial transform. So I highlight the molecule that I'm interested in, go down to the or go up to the design pull down window and select combinatorial transforms. So what this will do is take the molecule and then apply specific transformations to the molecule, and these transformations were created in collaboration with a med chemist. So it's very similar to the intuition ideas that we discussed earlier. There are various reaction classes. So for example, change a functional group, insert a chain atom, delete a chain atom, increase or decrease bond order, create ring, break ring, etc. So those all look very nice. For this demonstration, we're just going to go through 2 times or one loop a piece through the various reactions. We're going to add some filters. So I've got some queries defined in here of non-drug-like molecules. So what it's going to do, if it finds one of these non-drug-like fragments, it's going to eliminate that from the output file. So just click OK there, and it's going to create an output file. I'm also going to display the results in a new window. So I click OK, and it's very, very quick. So it's already made all the modifications and then read them into ADMET Predictor. Again, I'm going to resize the columns and rows just a little bit. So we see this first molecule, it's converted a urea into a sulfonylurea, which is kind of interesting. Here's one of the ideas we had earlier where, and also in the zinc search, where we just converted it to an amide. Here it's the reverse amide, in other words, converting this nitrogen into a carbon. Here it's added an amino group out on the end. So there's various combinations it's come up with through these. It's converted this methyl group to a fluorine, a chlorine. All those are somewhat interesting. Now we have a carbonyl introduced into this ring. Seems interesting. So we're getting some more ring structures, and then as we go down to the bottom, here's a cyclic urea. That would be an interesting compound to test, and provided that our initial lead shows some activity here. So that's combinatorial transforms, and it generates a lot of interesting ideas. You could take these individual ideas, search the zinc database to see if you have any exact matches or near neighbors that you could simply purchase. Okay, so now moving on, I'm going to show a related technique, which is building a combinatorial library with ADMET Predictor 8.0. So I'm going to go back to the slideshow and simply go to the next slide and show an example of a Pictet Spangler reaction. So with this reaction, you start with phenethylamine, combine it with an aldehyde to make a tetrahydroisoquinoline ring. And so this is kind of a high throughput reaction. You also have to be very careful about the reagents you choose. So in this example, we're going to start with a few of these reagents, and then we're going to combine them using ADMET Predictor to create this combinatorial library. Some of the things you need to consider down here is that these need to be symmetric or have a single ortho substituent. There has to be a hydrogen here because this is aldehyde is reacting in here and closing this ring up here. So this carbon ends up being this carbon in the tetrazole ring. So if it's not symmetric, such as this compound here, it's going to create 2 products, one where the ring forms this way. Now there might be some steric hindrance from here, so there might not be a preference. Also, this might direct this either to the para or the ortho position. So maybe there's some favoritism. Medicinal chemists might be able to scope that out and make the reaction conditions so that it only produces one product. ADMET Predictor will create both these products if you give it this reagent, so I would stay away from this. So here we've got a fluorine here, so this is fine because it is going to react at this carbon group here. here's a heterocycle. I'm going to assume that heterocycles are okay, and so instead of the tetrahydroisoquinoline, you're going to have a pyridine ring out here. So let's look how we would code that into ADMET Predictor. Okay, let's start by taking a look at our reagent classes. So I've already done some searches and selected a few of the amines or of the reagents, and so this is just a simple example. I'm going to open the phenethylamines database or file. So here we have a quinoline ring. So when we close this down, we're going to have a tricyclic group, which is kind of interesting. Here we've got the trifluoromethoxy attached to the phenyl group, a methoxy group on one of the ethyl substituents. Here we have a pyrazole on one of the substituents. Here's a thioxazole a thiazole ring attached there, and then just an ethyl. So kind of interesting reagents. Should make a few interesting products. And then on the aldehyde side, we've got some simple alkyl aldehydes, and then down a little bit further we have some aromatic aldehydes. So those are already, you would save those on file, and I've saved those as CTK files. Now to define the reaction, we would go into the transform molecules dialog box, click on the MedChem designer window, and we're going to sketch in a phenethylamine as one of the reagents. So I go over to the third group, and then if I highlight one of those and click on the nitrogen, it will convert that carbon to a nitrogen. Then I'm going to add the aldehyde, open it, and then also specify that there's a hydrogen on the aldehyde. Then draw the arrow to represent my product, which is tetrahydroisoquinoline, and then convert that nitrogen, or that to a carbon, nitrogen to a carbon, or carbon to a nitrogen. Then I'm also just going to space this across nicely and align everything towards the middles. So now the only thing left is to map the reactants to their corresponding atoms in the product. And so I use this tool here, and what's nice is that you can click on the aldehyde carbon, drag it over to its group over in the product, or the atom in the product, and it automatically assigns the other atoms in the products. And you just have to eyeball this and make sure it's correct, and if not, change it appropriately. But it has defined this nicely. So the nitrogen is atom 2, then the ethyl group is 3 and 4, and then the phenyl ring over here. So I'm just going to move that back over into the dialog box. Then I specify my reactants. So the first one is the phenethyl product. I'm going to use that CTK file that I just showed, bring the phenethylamines, and then also the aldehydes into the dialog box, and then click OK. So now it's defined these two reactions. We've got a temporary output file here, and all we're going to do is just click OK. I do want to point out, if there's any duplicate products, it would eliminate them. So I'll click OK. It quickly enumerates that library and brings it up in ADMET Predictor, and shows the 60 compounds. Then we could do some kind of analysis of these compounds to maybe calculate ADMET properties and select the ones with the best ADMET properties. Okay, so that wraps up the tools that you could potentially use in early discovery, or even later discovery, as an example. Thanks for watching this video. If you want more information on Simulations Plus, please click on this link. If you'd like to send me an email, you can at mlawless@simulationsplus.com. And if you'd like to evaluate any of our software, please click on this link and fill out our software evaluation form. Thank you very much. This has been Mike Lawless, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you.